like, where do you think the Pistons? I know free agency isn't over, but there's a couple of players out there. But where do you think they rank right now in the East?
So I was actually having this conversation like the other day with one of my friends. I feel like it's safe to say they're anywhere from, in my opinion, like 3 to 5. I would say I'd have them 3 to 5. I think 1 to 2 kind of, in my mind, is New York, and that's just because I'm giving them, benefit of the doubt because they won the championship. Do I think they're going to be as good regular season? No, but it's just kind of like a respect thing. Like you kind of have to put the Knicks number 1 because they're the defending champions and they're pretty much running it back outside of Mitchell Robinson. And then take your pick of Philly or Toronto. Some people might say Indiana, or even maybe Miami, right? Like any of those teams, I think are due for like a really good regular season. They've all had insane offs. I mean, Indiana to a less extent, but you're getting back a healthy Tyrese Halliburton after a year. Zubac, Kelly Oubre, like you've obviously improved. Any one of those teams, I think you can pencil in for like a really good regular season. So I would say I'd have the Pistons right after that. I think this team will be a really good regular season team again. I was having this conversation. It was basically where I landed. I was like, they're going to be really good in the regular season again. I don't really have many doubts about that. Health, of course, especially for like Cade and Nassar and Duran, like those obviously are the 3 biggest guys. But Cade specifically, like if he's healthy, there's no reason this team shouldn't be in like the top 3 to 5 in the Eastern Conference. I would think 3, but there's always like the Eastern Conference is a bloodbath now. Like who knows how this thing ends up shaking out. It's also a little bit of a bloodbath last season. It just wasn't talked about as much because people were still kind of under the idea that the Western Conference was better. I think the playoffs kind of showed that it wasn't. Neither here nor there, but I don't know if they're going to end up being significantly better in the playoffs right now as constructed. I think that's the bigger question than how I think they'll how they perform in the regular season. I think in the regular season they'll be pretty much the same. I think I'd pencil them in from anywhere around like 50 to 55 wins. I feel like that's pretty safe to say. But you look at like Toronto, because we talk about internal development, right? Like internal development is like a big thing for the Pistons, but the thing is, other teams do have these concepts as well, right? Like Toronto has internal development. Like Scotty Barnes could always take another leap. Colin Murray Boyles could take another leap. Jacoby could take another leap. It's a lot to say that the Pistons are the only team that has internal development or can get better internally. Cleveland, like maybe Evan Mobley, can take another leap. And then on top of that, with Toronto specifically, like you just added Kawhi Leonard to a really young, exciting team, and he fits them perfectly. So it's just like it's stuff like that kind of makes me question the postseason ceiling right now. I don't know if I would say that they're like championship contenders as currently constructed. Of course, if I say this, they're going to end up in the finals next year. But just like as currently constructed right now, I can't say as confidently that I think they're going to be in the NBA finals representing the Eastern Conference or necessarily in the Eastern Conference finals because of how strong the conference is right now.
I have them top 4 in the East. Obviously, I think when you look at the Eastern Conference, I've said for the past month, I think the East is going to be stronger than the West. Just kind of given, like, you look from like the Knicks win the championship all the way down to like maybe a team like Washington, who actually finally is a playoff team again. I mean, there's even like you could kind of look at Charlotte. I know Charlotte did a massive retooling, but they still have like good vets on that team, like Kobe White, Naz Reid, like Concanipple, another year. You still have Brandon Miller. Like they have like good players. Like that's maybe like a bare minimum, like 38-40 win play-in team. Like the East is going to be crazy. Every game I think is going to mean a little bit more this season.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's also just going to be exciting to watch, the matchups this year, like seeing Detroit play Toronto with Kawhi or seeing Detroit play Philadelphia. I mean, if they get Philly in a playoff series, and I'm here to photograph that, that would be like a dream come true. That would be awesome. Just like the amount of star power on that team is nuts. Just the East as a whole, like it's going to be exciting basketball. I wish the season started like tomorrow. Because it's just like there's a lot that's really exciting about this season already, and I'm really excited to see how it all shakes out and how the Pistons even rank up against the rest of the Eastern Conference, or if Toronto can keep a healthy Kawhi, because he was incredible last year, if he can translate that type of performance, and also if his investigation is over, because that's another thing.
Yeah.
Boston, how they look, is Paul George really gonna be the answer to what you're missing in Jaylen Brown? Does Hugo Gonzalez end up taking that leap that they think he takes, or is Peyton Pritchard the next Jalen Brunson like they say he is? There's a lot for Boston to figure out. Cleveland, what do they do next? They're kind of in no man's land right now, in my opinion, where I don't think there's a world where they're in the Eastern Conference Finals again, as currently constructed. I would be shocked. I don't think they should have won the series against Detroit in the first place. That's neither here nor there. I don't think they won that series because they were better. I think they won that series because Detroit lost that series, if that makes sense. Like Detroit defeated themselves in that series. Here nor there. But Toronto, Philly, Miami, Boston, New York, who am I missing? Indiana. Is Orlando better with Sean Sweeney? Like there's so many interesting teams. Washington, I forgot to mention Washington. Like they have the number 1 pick. They have Anthony Davis. They have Trae Young. They have Chris Middleton. They have a really exciting young core, in my opinion. They have a really underrated young core. Atlanta, like there's one of these, like a lot of 3-4 good teams are not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
it's a lot. So crazy. I'm excited to see though how and Chicago. I saw someone saying that in the comments. Chicago, I think they might be better than people are giving them credit for. I think they're actually a really deep team. And if Caleb Wilson is as good as he was in Summer League, talk about Summer League performances. That was insane.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like Brandon Jennings thinking the Milwaukee Bucks are making the playoffs on the timeline, but I mean,
but yeah, they're also like a better team than like they're given credit for. So there's a lot of good teams in the Eastern Conference. Like there's almost like no team that you'll get matched up with them one night and you're like, okay, we got a night off tonight.
Unless you're playing the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, Brooklyn's probably.
I mean, Brooklyn even might be a little bit better with. I mean, I know it's like a joke amongst NBA fans, but like Julius Randle is a good NBA player. If they keep Michael Porter Jr. and Mikael Brown Jr. I thought he played really well in Summer League. I think he'll play really well in the NBA. And then Yegor Zemin, I think he had probably outside of like, I guess, Yaxel Lendenberg, Caleb Wilson, and like those guys, I thought he had the best Summer League performance by far. He was incredible. The leap he's taking from year 1 to year 2 is unbelievable. So I think they actually might be better than given credit for. I legit think that. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs or even the play-in for that matter, but I do think they'll be better.
Yeah, I do too. I still think they're like around that 14th to 15th. Just because the East is just so stacked and they're still really young, and I don't know who their starting center is going to be because they got rid of Clax.
That is a good point.
Is it Day'Ron Sharp? Maybe I don't even know.
If I think most likely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Porter Jr. wants an extension, but they don't want to give him an extension. So it's like, I don't know, man. It's just like Brooklyn is just like a team where it's just like I think they'll be better because they're getting another adult in the room. But I mean, the isolations between Michael Porter Jr. and Julius Randle next year, I think a lot of Brooklyn fans will probably just want to jump off a cliff. Personally, like I know they're going through a rebuild, but it's just like, yeah, man, like how are we supposed to get better with them getting like splitting 40 touches between the two?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, yeah, they are definitely big on ball guys, but I thought Michael Porter Jr.'s playmaking is an underrated part of his game. I mean, obviously his thing was never swing the rock, but in Brooklyn, I thought he showed good playmaking flashes last year. But yeah, no, it is. I mean, at the very least, it'll be an interesting team to watch, which is more than I can say for them like last year. And I think Jordi Fernandez, great coach, like kind of similar to the Utah situation where these are great coaches that just haven't really gotten to show that they're great coaches because they have to tank for half the season. And obviously now that's also like part of this, what makes this, entire season really interesting. As much as I dislike the new draft lottery format, every team kind of has to try. And I think you're kind of seeing that in the way that teams are building right now. There's no team that's like, okay, yeah, we're trying to be terrible. Like we're trying to be as bad as we possibly can be. Like every single team at least has the ability to compete. So maybe I end up being wrong about the draft lottery format. I was really against it initially, but maybe it produces like more interesting regular season, produces more parity in the off season where there aren't teams that are just dumping off contracts to, dump off contracts. So, it's a really exciting. I'm really excited for this season.
I think the party's going to be over if someone makes the play-in tournament and they get the first overall pick. People are going to be pissed. I could totally see that. Like, say OKC just is like completely injured, or like Orlando, just they can't stay healthy, but they get the first overall pick. It's just going to be like, dude, come on. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, or Boston for that matter. Like, they have the perfect mix to be maybe fall into that like 6 to 10 range, and who knows what happens from there.
Yeah, who knows? Like the East is just going to be like really stacked. I kind of wanted to like still piggyback on this topic. Like,
sure,
which teams do you think will be definitively better than Detroit as the roster is currently constructed?
In the regular season, I'm going to go on a limb and say probably Philadelphia. I know there's a lot of divisiveness about that team right now in terms of like the casual NBA fan obviously is like, oh my God, this is the coolest team ever. Like they're Jaylen Brown and Joel Embiid and LeBron James and Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. True. I think objectively that's just cool to see. On the other hand, if you ask someone about their adjusted plus minus, it's not great, right? But like these are all just like it's like it's the ultimate like sheets versus eye test conversation.
Yeah.
I think though there's too much talent there for them to not be good in the regular season. Especially if LeBron James is healthy, which is an insane sentence to say about the Philadelphia 76ers. I can't believe I'm saying if LeBron James is healthy, if Joel Embiid is healthy. They are just too talented to fail, in my opinion. Like they are so supremely stacked with talent. Their bench is stacked with talent. Their starting lineup is probably the most talented starting five in basketball. I would say they're probably above Detroit. Toronto, if Kawhi is healthy, I think I would probably put above Detroit. In the regular season, I don't think New York is going to be better than Detroit. I think in the playoffs, that's a different conversation, but I don't think in the regular season they'll be better. I gave them that for the sake of rankings, but I don't think that this team is going to be as good in the regular season as they were in the playoffs this past season. And I think once they get to the playoffs, that's a different conversation. This is obviously a postseason rising team because they didn't even really have that good of a regular season this year. Like they won 53 games, I want to say.
Yeah.
Third seed in the Eastern Conference. Like they weren't having the best regular season in the world, and they put it together in the playoffs. So I would say Philadelphia. I'd say Toronto. There's a world where maybe Indiana just comes out as world beaters out of the gate, and Tyrese Halliburton post injury is just on fire. I think it'll take more time than that, so I still have Detroit above them. Yeah, I think those are probably the only two teams.
I mean, Hallie's already doing East Bays out here.
Yeah,
like he's already looking like he's pretty healthy. Like I think a lot of people forgot about Indiana because they were so bad last year, but they still have Siakam, still have Obi Toppin. I think the Zubac element, I think, is Obviously, they don't really have a stretch big outside of Jay Huff, but I think the Zubac pick and roll and just the rebounding and the defense actually kind of elevates them a little bit higher. Just in my personal ranking, anyways, I think Indiana will definitely be like top 5, top 6 team in the East. And I feel like they really didn't come together until like late April. And they were just like kind of like the Knicks. Like they really like they went back and forth with Boston in the seeding, but like they weren't really world beaters like in the Eastern Conference. Not until the playoffs when they just had an incredible run and they just could not miss a shot. And they were just locking teams up defensively. Like there's some teams that are just like in the regular season, they just coast and the playoffs come and they're locked in. I mean, that to me is going to be the Knicks. And who knows how Jalen Brunson's wrist is. I know he still has kind of like a brace on. He had surgery on it. So feel like every time I watched him, he always went back in the locker room because he always like had an injury and then he came back and he was fine. But
Yeah.
I'm with you. Like Toronto, definitely see Philly. I think Philly on paper looks better. I'm kind of interested to see how everything just meshes and how it fits. I think defensively, I have a lot of questions of like how they're going to be, but like I think they could be a team that could put 130 on your head easily.
Yeah.
I think the offensive talent is just off the damn charts. I just kind of wonder like what happens when Joel Embiid's injured. Like who's your backup center?
That's a big question mark for sure.
Is it Bana? I doubt it's Johnny Broom. I heard Brian Windhorst said Dean Wade on his podcast. I was like, I don't know about that one. But I mean, it's kind of crazy.
I mean, maybe because Dean Wade is like 6'9", 6'10", like maybe. But this is just such a weird team, like to like figure out that maybe, sure, why not? I guess, like, you know. But no, I feel like it's probably either a Dembona or Ariel Hakaporti. I always struggle with his last name, but I think it's one of those two, likely, unless they go out and make a move for a backup center, which I could see them doing. But yeah, it is a lot to figure out. I don't think they'll be that good defensively. I think Dean Wade has a lot of burden defensively that he's going to have to take on, but there's just so much offensive talent there that I can't be like, oh yeah, they're going to suck in the regular season. Like, could there be questions come playoffs? Absolutely. I think so. Because defense matters, especially in today's NBA, a lot in the postseason. Again, if you're supremely talented offensively, that's, you know, probably the best. Like, you have to be this talented offensively to not be average or above average defensively in today's NBA in the playoffs. So maybe they have the offensive talent that could overcome that. But yeah, I would say Philly and Toronto. I think like those are the two safe options. There's no one else I really feel like is really that much better than Detroit, though, in the regular season.
Not in the regular season, not at all. But I mean, like, this could be a completely different team at the deadline. I mean, like, we just really don't know which star's going to be disgruntled. This kind of stick with the East. Like, which team do you think is like severely overrated, just among fans?
Fans, I can't say as much because I haven't really been tuned in. I've seen a lot of media say that Boston's going to be as good or better than they were last season, and I'm sorry, I just don't see it. I think Paul George was great in the playoffs, and I still think he's a very good quality NBA player in 2026. There is no way you're going to convince me that this team is better than they were last season. Yes, they did add Mitchell Robinson. If we want to talk about availability, those are two guys who have serious availability issues. And I think obviously they are a very well-coached team, right? Like it goes without saying. They have their own system in place that obviously works. But I think people really underestimate how much Jaylen Brown, and I'm not even his biggest fan, but they really underestimate how much Jaylen Brown contributed to this team being what it was last season. I know, again, I've talked about like the advanced stats community. They hate him. They hate his guts. I get it. But at the same time, like undoubtedly, when you need someone to step up, he stepped up, right? And like that's a big part of it. And I just I think it's a lot for Tatum to take on. Obviously, I think he was amazing post Achilles tear, like unthinkable recovery. But he's got a lot on his plate, and I don't think that this team, as currently constructed, I can say that they're like a top 3 team in the Eastern Conference. Like, in my opinion, no way. Like, I would have where the conversations for Boston for me would start would be like 5 would be high. I would have them like 6th, like on the high end, in the Eastern Conference. I would say easily Philadelphia, I think, would be better in the regular season. I think Indiana will be better in the regular season than them. I think Detroit will be better in the regular season than them. And then, you can have your pick of the litter amongst them. Toronto, obviously, I think will be better than them. So that's like already having them 6th, right? And then you can have conversations where maybe Atlanta is better than people expect, or maybe because obviously like Miami, they got Giannis, that's huge, but like, there's a lot to figure out. But maybe they are better than like people are giving them credit for, and maybe Miami can take that 6th spot. So like, all that considered, Boston's kind of lost in the fray, in my opinion. I don't think they're very well constructed. I think this is a stealth tank, like not like a little bit of a stealth tank. I think they're going to end up being like a 6 to 10 seed. There's a world where they don't make the playoffs, and then maybe they get rewarded with the 1st overall pick or some shit. So it's Boston. They always land on their feet somehow. But like this season, I don't really believe in their ceiling.
No, me either. I saw. I'm pretty sure it was Yahoo Sports. They had Boston number 3, and Cleveland and New York was above them, and then Philly was at number 4. But that was before LeBron. Like, they're probably up as high as 2, which is like the early offseason rankings. But like, I just don't. It doesn't pass the smell test for me. Like, obviously, like, I think acquiring Paul George is a risk in itself because you don't know how many games you're going to get. Same with Mitchell Robinson. Like, you just don't know. I don't know if Jason Tatum can take on that same kind of role that Jaylen Brown did and elevate them as high as a number 2 seed in the East, especially with all the other teams around like getting better. I don't think Boston is going to be as good as a lot of people say. I'm also going to say Washington because I've seen some people say Washington's going to be a top 5 seed. I think Washington will be better. I think they will be better. But this is probably the most veterans that Brian Keefe has ever had to kind of like coach as a coach. I know he's been there during the rebuild, has had to work with Alex Sarr and Keshawn George and Bub Carrington and Trey Johnson, all those guys. Now I just think about it, like their young core is actually insane. But like, I think Washington will be a playoff team. I just don't have them like top 5 in the East.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, it's just so stacked. I mean, who would be like the biggest jump you think though, when you kind of just like look at it
from last season to this season?
Yeah.
Probably Washington, because I mean, they going from having the 1st overall pick to like playoff conversations. I mean, that's huge. So I'll again, because we just talked about them a little bit, I'll give an alternative answer. The biggest fall off, I think, will be Charlotte. Not to say I don't think they made smart moves this offseason. I think they severely they underrated LaMelo Ball apparently like crazy. And I'm not Jaylen Brown's biggest fan. I'm not LaMelo Ball's biggest fan. I was at a certain point, but like obviously there's a lot of give and take with LaMelo, but that offense was so good. Like so good in the second half of the season, like historically good in the second half of the season. To take away the primary initiator, to take away the guy who was like the head of the snake on like on a really, really, really good offense, and just be like, okay, well, we should still be about the same. I don't believe in it. That's the one team that I think I'd probably have outside of the play-in, especially in today's Eastern Conference. They did add some good veterans, and I think Con Knippel's obviously still great. I think Brandon Miller is obviously great. Naz Reid will be fun there, I'm sure. But like, there's no way, in my opinion, that they end up making the playoffs this year. And I thought, there was a world where they ended up beating Orlando if Orlando didn't have like a kind of out of body, like,
Yeah.
insane play-in performance that, they hadn't had in like pretty much all of the season before then. And then obviously they went on to have a great first round against Detroit. But yeah, I thought the Hornets went from being like kind of a shoe-in for a play-in spot again, or maybe like taking a jump, to taking a pretty significant fallback, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, those Wolf picks might actually pay some dividends depending on what happens with Anthony Edwards. They might actually turn into lottery picks. And then Miles Bridges was always destined to be a Phoenix Sun. I mean, if you know, you know. I mean, it's MSU Suns over there. So, I mean, it's just like I wasn't too surprised that he did get dealt there. But I'll give you one that might be a surprising. I think the Atlanta Hawks are going to take the biggest jump in the East.
Okay.
I think with the additions of Aaron Wiggins, Lou Dort, you bring back CJ McCollum, like Kingston Fleming. Man, that kid. It's not going to be this year, but I think maybe next year he could be their starting point guard. Like,
definitely, yeah.
Just the defense, the speed, the scoring at all three levels. Like, you still have Jalen Johnson. I still think it's center. That's like their weakest position. I think they would be a perfect Daniel Gafford team. I know I don't know like how they could finagle that, but I feel like if they were able to get like more size in the middle, I would have them a little bit higher. I could see them as high as 4 in the East this year, just with like just the defense that they're surrounding everything. You can kind of see the vision. Like, they're trying to be athletic, they're trying to be fast, and you get Dort and Wiggins, like 2 of the biggest contributors from OKC last year, on top of Dyson Daniels. Like, that's going to be a team that's going to be really hard to play in a half-court setting.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a good pick, honestly. I think I'm really excited to watch Atlanta Hawks basketball this year. I don't know if I can necessarily pencil them in top 4, but I think there's definitely a world where they could end up being that. Wonder what that means for Detroit in that scenario, but yeah, I think they'll be really exciting to watch. The only question again I have is, again, like you said, the center position. I think Zubi Ejiofor was a great pick for them, but he's kind of more of like a power forward center kind of deal. And then Henry Visar, they have Jock Landale, but like there's no real answer there. But yeah, I think that's a great pick. I think Atlanta did make a lot of really exciting moves, and they might. I think of all the teams that might not be done, they might not be done because there's still the Kuminga thing to figure out, and they still obviously have some things that need addressing. So yeah, I do like Atlanta a lot.
Yeah, I mean, after the trade deadline, they were like the hottest team in basketball. Like,
they were, yeah.
It was like a 90% win percentage. Obviously, I think getting CJ kind of like slowed things down for them a little bit. And then I didn't even mention Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Like, he had a breakout season too. It's just like they have so many young, intriguing pieces, and I like their coach a lot. So I definitely have them penciled in top 4. I could if they're healthy. Like, I could totally see them just being a transition nightmare and just mucking it up defensively and just giving in the regular season. In the playoff setting, I think if you're going up against a bigger center, like Cat just absolutely bullied them. Mitchell Robinson absolutely bullied them. Like, that's something they do need to address, is getting more of a rim protector or just like an enforcer, which I think Zubi Ejiofor to me kind of has a little bit of Beef Stew vibes, maybe minus the fights. But like Zubi to me, I think it's definitely like a culture guy for them that'll definitely bring a lot of toughness, and like he had a really good summer league too.
He did, yeah. Yeah, I like that pick a lot.
I mean, like I said, East is going to be interesting. I mean, I still have the Pistons kind of like in that hierarchy of like, top 4, but top 5. Like, I could totally see like a Pistons Atlanta first round series.
I could totally see that. I would hate that for Cade.
Yeah,
because that would really mean a lot of creativity would have to happen offensively that I don't know. Because I mean, yeah, that would be tough. That would be a tough matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Hawks top 4 might just sound like a complete just hot take, and it might age like milk. But
Pistons 1 seed would have been a hot take last season anyway. Like, I do see the vision there though. Like they won the most games against the defending champions in the playoffs. There's a reason to believe.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the game when we were down 20 and we came back, but like the transition game they were playing, like it was just incredible, just going up and down the court and like I'm a big Jalen Johnson stan. Like I a point forward that can dribble, shoot, pass, defend. Like I think he's gonna have a breakout year too. Like
for
I'm
sure.
really high on Jalen Johnson. I'm really high in the Hawks, and I probably maybe I shouldn't be being a Piston fan, but like I just look at their acquisitions. I was like, man, I would have loved Nickeil Alexander-Walker. We talked about Lou Dort last time you were on. I was like, man,
Yeah.
that would have been like, you lose a little bit of identity with Stu, like getting Lou Dort. That would have been like a home run. But I mean,
Yeah, I was kind of holding out hope that was going to happen.